Coming up, the Rays win the battle of the best records in baseball. This is Locked On Game to Game MLB.
Every game, every team, every angle. Locked On Game to Game, your team every day.
Welcome in. You're listening to Locked On Game to Game MLB. Local experts join us to go over all of the action for you from Major League Baseball yesterday. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. Thank you for making Locked On your first listen every single weekday. The top two teams in baseball met last night as the Pirates started a series against the Rays in Florida, and the home team took a 4-1 win. Locked On Rays and Pirates recap Tampa's triumph.
The Tampa Bay Rays have taken on the best National League team and come out victorious. I'm Ulysses Zambrano, host of the Locked On Rays podcast. As I said, the Rays take the first game against the Pittsburgh Pirates. They did it with a combination of good pitching, good defense, and timely hitting. That's the Rays' way. A double steal by Wander Franco and Jose Siri was the highlight of the day, showing their quick baseball IQ in the moment. And of course, Harold Ramirez keeps improving that power. Already 6 bombs this year. Tremendous improvement from Harold Ramirez on that regard. If you want to talk about this and much more about your Tampa Bay Rays, well, guess what? You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Locked On Rays, today.
In the highly anticipated Game 1 of this series between the AL Best Tampa Bay Rays and the NL Best Pittsburgh Pirates, advantage Rays as they win 4-1 on Tuesday night. And the Pittsburgh Pirates have used aggressive base running and taking advantage of the opportunities given to them to be in the spot they're in this season. And the Tampa Bay Rays showcased that against the Pirates this evening. Some questionable stuff going on behind the dish from the umpires throughout this game, but ultimately some errors on the Pirate side and small mistakes loomed large here against a very good Rays team, and they'll have to bounce back tomorrow as Shane McClanahan will face off with Mitch Keller in Game 2 of this series. The Pirates will look to force a rubber match. My name is Ethan Smith, your host of the Locked On Pirates podcast, and I will see you on the flip side.
The Washington Nationals broke open a tie with the Chicago Cubs in the 7th inning with 3 runs to separate themselves from the Northsiders. Our Locked On Cubs host goes over a 4th loss in 5 games for Chicago.
More of the same for the Cubs, another close loss. The score really didn't indicate how close this game was. It was 1-0 Nationals in the 6th inning. Cubs had bases loaded, 1 out, couldn't score. Then they tied it, made it 1-1, had another opportunity in the 7th, didn't score. And then Keegan Thompson, who's really been struggling, came out in the bottom of the 7th inning and gave up 3 runs. And that was pretty much it from there. Cubs are struggling right now, and they're struggling as a fan in the most painful way possible because it's the close games that they continue to lose. They can't figure out a way to win a game, to steal a game, to come back late. It feels like every big play in a close game, they're just on the wrong side of, and they got to clean it up quickly because they're only 15-14 right now. It feels like they're a better team than that.
The Yankees scored 4 runs in their final 3 at-bats to take down the Guardians in the Bronx on Tuesday. Locked On Yankees goes over that win.
This is Stacey Gotsoulias of Locked On Yankees, and the Yankees beat the Guardians 4-2 at the stadium. They stop their 4-game losing streak. They also stopped that 4-game streak of not being able to score more than 2 runs. They scored 2 on Friday, none on Saturday, 2 on Sunday, 2 on Monday, and then they exploded for 4 runs on Tuesday night. How did they get those 4 runs? Anthony Volpe started things off with a solo shot in the bottom of the 6th. The Yankees were held scoreless until the bottom of the 6th. And then Anthony Rizzo hits an RBI single. This scores Gleyber Torres. Willie Calhoun, of all people, hits a home run in the bottom of the 7th to put the Yankees ahead. It was basically the game-winning home run. And then in the bottom of the 8th, Anthony Volpe hits a single, steals 2 bases, so he makes it to 3rd, and then DJ LeMahieu drives him in. So Anthony Volpe, 2 for 4 with the home run, 2 stolen bases. Nice night for him. So it was a good game all around for the Yankees. Garrett Cole did not factor into the decision. He gave up 2 runs in 6 innings. Again, none via the home run. I say again because I've been mentioning this every time I talk about Garrett Cole in these videos. He has not given up a home run yet. We're into May. Pretty good. So we'll have everything you need to know about this game and more on the next Locked On Yankees, so tune in.
Andrew Benintendi got the game-winning hit for the Chicago White Sox as they picked up a big win at home to hopefully boost some morale on the south side. Our Locked On White Sox host recaps that win for Chicago.
The Chicago White Sox beat the first-place Minnesota Twins 3-2 in extra innings on the South Side Tuesday night. Hey, I'm Nick Morawski from Locked On White Sox. For the first time all season long, the Chicago White Sox have won 2 games in a row. It was a walk-off on Tuesday night. Andrew Benintendi with a base hit in the bottom of the 10th. Sox now are 9-21 on the season, but hey, it's a 2-game winning streak. They try to make it 3 on Wednesday night with ace Dylan Cease on the hill. For more, check out the Locked On White Sox podcast.
Coming up, home runs power wins for the Red Sox and the Orioles. This is Locked On Game to Game MLB. Today's edition of Locked On Game to Game is brought to you by Sorare. It's a revolutionary fantasy baseball game and marketplace transforming fans into owners with officially licensed digital cards featuring players from across all 30 MLB teams. Unlike other fantasy baseball platforms, Sorare managers truly own their fantasy experience. You collect, buy, sell, and compete with player cards against global opponents to win epic rewards. Win or lose, you still own your cards and there's no cost for you to play. Plus, the more you win, the more that you advance, collecting increasingly powerful cards and accessing next level competitions and rewards. So head to sorare.com/lockedon, that's spelled SORARE.com, to draft your team of free player cards, set your lineup, and start competing today to win those epic rewards. Again, that's sorare.com/lockedon to start playing today. Welcome back. You're listening to Locked On Game to Game MLB. Local experts join us to go over the biggest stories in baseball. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. Thank you for making Locked On your first listen every single weekday. Connor Wong hit a home run in the bottom of the 6th and the 8th inning to propel the Red Sox to a 7-6 win over the Blue Jays yesterday. After this clutch hitting and a Red Sox victory, our Locked On Red Sox host recaps things from Fenway.
It was a good night to have a good night, and Connor Wong did just that on Tuesday with a 2-homer night, including the game winner in the bottom of the 8th inning in the Red Sox win over the Blue Jays on Tuesday. What's going on, everyone? It's Lauren from Locked On Red Sox, and that's 2 straight wins now over the Blue Jays after an offensive night from Connor Wong. Masataka Yoshida also had a home run on the night. Tanner Houck got the start, struggled a little bit in the later innings. We will talk about, should he go back to the bullpen? Is he a starter? The Red Sox do have a lot of questions, especially as the rotation continues to get healthier, but there's still some struggles within that rotation. Tanner Houck not necessarily the top of that list, but Jake and I are going to break everything down for you from Tuesday's win in our next episode of Locked On Red Sox.
The Baltimore Orioles got 2 2-run home runs from Ryan Mountcastle in an 11-run output over the Kansas City Royals on Tuesday. Locked On Orioles has more after that Baltimore victory.
One thing you do not do is you just do not beat the Orioles in a series opener. Connor Newcomb here, host of Locked On Orioles, as the O's win it over the Royals on Tuesday night to take game 1 of a 3-game set. Orioles are now 11-0 in series opening games this season, and they start May with a victory to get to 20-9. Yeah, the bullpen was a little shaky. It wasn't their best pitching day, but the offense was incredible. And the star was Ryan Mountcastle, a 2-homer game. Finally, the luck is turning his way a little bit. Mashes 2 homers on the day, included his hardest hit ball since 2021. Adley Rutschman with 4 hits, Gunnar Henderson with a bunch of walks, Cedric Mullins with a great day. Everybody contributed. Anthony Santander had a 16-pitch at-bat where he got a hit. The O's offense is humming. They win it, and I'll recap it all on Wednesday's episode of the Locked On Orioles podcast.
The Angels beat the Cardinals to hand St. Louis its 4th consecutive loss. Locked On Angels goes over the win for LA.
A great start followed by a great bullpen backed up by great defense leads to a great win for the Halos on Tuesday night. Hey everybody, it's Mike Frisch, one half of Locked On Angels. The Angels beat the Cardinals in St. Louis 5-1. Patrick Sandoval went 5 innings, looked fantastic, and then the bullpen came in and shut the door. Matt Moore struck out 3 batters. Chris Stavinsky went 2 innings, looked fantastic, and then Carlos Estevez came in and shut the door and won the game. And the defense looked fantastic. Zach Neto Halos had an incredible double play. He's our rookie sensation at shortstop. He had a glove flip to Brandon Drury at second base, who barehanded the ball and threw it to first base, and they brought the Halos a victory. Again, 5-1 in St. Louis on Tuesday night. And John and I are going to recap this game and talk all things Halos on Locked On Angels. We hope you'll join us.
The Texas Rangers beat the Arizona Diamondbacks on Tuesday behind Ezekiel Duran's tie-breaking 2-run home run in the 6th inning. As the Rangers take a win against Arizona, our Locked On Rangers host is in for more.
Have a freaking day, Ezekiel Duran. A 3-hit game, a multi-extra base hit game, and the Rangers beat the Diamondbacks, extend their winning streak to 4 straight games with a 6-4 victory. I'm Bryce Patrick, host of the Locked On Rangers podcast. This was a really great game for the Rangers shortstop, Ezekiel Duran. Like I said, he had 3 hits in this one. His batting average is up to .328. He has been filling in at shortstop with Corey Seager on the injured list, and he has been so incredibly consistent, so incredibly good, hitting the absolute tarnation out of baseball. Is a decent enough start for John Gray in this one. He has looked a little shaky as of late. 5 1/3 innings, 4 runs, all of which were earned, just 2 strikeouts, which is just as many as the number of home runs he allowed. The bullpen comes up huge, closes the door, does not allow a single hit, actually just the 1 hit, and does not allow a single run. Rangers come through with a 4-6 victory they really needed against this Diamondbacks team.
Coming up, the reigning Rookie of the Year gets the Reds a win. This is Locked On Game to Game MLB. This edition of Locked On Game to Game is brought to you by eBay Motors. A championship team is about each player being a perfect fit. That's the same thing with your vehicle. So for the parts to fit, head to eBay Motors and look for the green check. Stay in the game with eBay Guaranteed Fit, ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers, eligible items only, and exclusions do apply. Welcome back to Locked On Game to Game MLB. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. Thank you again for making Locked On your first listen every weekday. The Giants shut out the Astros, who only managed 3 hits at home on Tuesday. Locked On hosts from both teams tell us how things played out in Texas.
Hey, the Race Chan Wheelhouse here with Locked On Astros, and the Astros fall to the Giants. They snapped their 4-game losing streak as they beat the Astros 2-0. The Astros bats were stymied while the defense did their part. Their rookie catcher, Yanner Diaz, went 2 for 3, threw out 2 runners at second base. Corey Julks made an amazing grab, but it was the 9 walks from the pitching staff that ultimately did them in, as the Giants only needed to push across 2 runs, and the Astros offense went silent. They come back tomorrow for a day game where they're giving away a Jeremy Pena World Series ring, and they hope to win the series. Stay tuned into Locked On Astros. We're your team every day. No matter if they win or lose, we got your back, and we got the best coverage out there. We are your team becoming every dayer. Subscribe to our YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts. Go Stros.
The Giants badly needed a win in Houston, and Tony DeSclafani to the rescue with 8 shutout innings against a potent Houston Astros lineup. Just a unbelievable job. He's been a stopper on this team all season long. And the offense, they were only able to put up 2 runs, but it proved to be enough. They had traffic on the bases all night long, but they just could not push through and add on. And then in the 9th inning, Duvall took over and once again had issues with the pitch clock. And Joey Bart somewhat heroically called timeout 2 times in a 3-2 count when Duvall was about to have a violation that would be an automatic walk, and took a mound visit. So Duvall needs to figure that out. And also, I'm wondering, why is he not throwing his sinker anymore? So we'll break all of this down. The huge win, DeSclafani, Duvall, on tomorrow's Locked On Giants, where it's your team every day.
The Rockies picked up a dramatic win in Colorado, breaking a 2-2 tie with the Brewers in the 8th inning. Our Locked On Rockies host tells us how it went down.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast. Hey, 2 wins in a row. Win number 10 for the Rockies as they put together back-to-back winning ball games. And it came off the bats of some important players for the Rockies. Elias Diaz stays hot, continues to be the best offensive threat for the Rockies at this moment. And Ezekiel Tovar has a breakout style game. We're going to have to see more of it, more consistency in a row. But we saw Tovar make big plays on defense, leave the yard. All exciting things on top of a Rockies team that managed to hold the Brewers to just 2 runs. A nice solid start there from Ryan Feltner. 2 wins in a row. Lots of work to be done, but hey, steps in the right direction. We'll be breaking it all down right here on Locked On Rockies.
Neither the Mariners or the Athletics got a hit before the 6th inning last night, but eventually Seattle did put across a couple of runs to take down the A's in Oakland. Our Locked On Mariners host has more after Seattle's win on the road.
Look, I get it was against the A's and everything, but what we saw tonight out of Bryce Miller's Major League debut was incredibly impressive. This is Ty Gonzalez, host of the Locked On Mariners podcast here, and like we said on the show today, this A's lineup is a bit better than it's given credit for. Yeah, the team is 6-24 now after losing 2-1 to the Mariners tonight, but that's mostly been a pitching issue for Oakland. This A's lineup has several hitters within it that have posted a WRC plus north of 100 through the first month of the year, and Miller just shredded right through them. 10 strikeouts, most of any Mariners pitcher making their Major League debut, and on top of that, a 40% called strike plus whiff rate on his fastball. It was a fastball-heavy performance like we expected, but he also got value out of his slider and his cutter as well, which was really nice to see, and he takes a perfecto 5 1/3 innings deep into this game before Tony Kemp singles to break it up and later scores on a double from Esteury Ruiz, but you got to be over the moon with what you saw out of Miller. The big test is coming up on Sunday against the Astros, but I'm thrilled with what I saw tonight out of Bryce Miller as the Mariners win 2-1.
That's it for this edition of Locked On Game to Game MLB. Thank you for making Locked On your first listen every single weekday. Make sure you subscribe to Locked On MLB and your favorite team's Locked On podcast on YouTube and wherever else you get your podcasts from. I'm Kainani Stevens. This has been Locked On Game to Game.